Hey, welcome to video 9 of my track breakdown series for my album Motions, which I launched recently on July 15th. This is track 9, it's called The House Piano. It's a collaboration with Ayzic, who is a fantastic collaborator and helped me make the song so much better than it could have otherwise been, because I think it was quite boring before he kind of worked on it. He added some really lovely parts to it, which we'll dive into right now. So this is quite a complicated project, I guess, just in that there's a lot of tracks to it, especially compared to the last track, which had like 25 tracks, and we're at nearly double here. We've got 40 tracks. There's a lot of it just being Foley. There's a lot of it here that you can see that's just kind of Foley. Everything kind of up to here is kind of Foley or percussion loops. So we'll kind of dive into it as much as we can. Let's kind of start with the intro, which is this section here. We start off with some Foley that I've kind of layered together just from a random Foley pack. So we first off have the sound of someone striking a match. I think this only happens in the intro, which is this. First thing you hear, just a bit of EQ on it, nothing crazy. We also have some crunchy paper sounds that start fading up, as well as a crunch here that I've used on a few tracks now. I think that one is maybe reversed, and then there's also this sample that I recorded where I've like a savings jar of just like loads of little change and coins and stuff, which I like tipped, and I recorded a few versions of, and I used this, and I think I reversed it. No, that's definitely forwards. And then yeah, just a bit of EQ to kind of give each one like its own space, so that all together they start to sound like this. But you also get in the intro this reverse of the Rhodes. Has a nice bit of reverb on it so that you don't get like a really abrupt tail. But what we also then have is we have this subby kick that starts to come in, which I think is only in a few places in the song. And it's basically just a kick where I've taken some of the sustain off of it, brought down the attack so it's not very like punchy, and then just only really allowed through the low frequencies on this, which sounds like that. So you get this kind of intro that starts to sound like this. The Rhodes starts to come in. Just something a little bit different. We also have this ambience from like a nighttime ambience, which I would have just got from Free Sound, with just imaging, EQ, and then some Mondo mod to move it around a little bit in the stereo field. I've set the range to be quite small so that it's not moving completely from left to right. It's just got some slight movement to it. Just helps make the song a tiny bit more dynamic. Then as the intro sort of progresses, you start to have the piano ambience start to come up. Which again, just EQ'd, and you can hear that I've used my standard stuff on it. I think what I like about elements like that, especially when you're working on an album, is having something that you're kind of using in most tracks really helps tie like an era of sound together, you know, stuff that makes an album start to feel like, you know, a bunch of cohesive tracks. So even though I'm exploring slightly different ideas in all of these songs and working with different collaborators, you've got this kind of thing that still helps kind of ground all of these songs in like the same album. So then we start to bring in a snare for the intro. So that's heavily EQ'd, just like only letting through very specific frequencies, and it's being sent to the reverb mix, so it sounds like this. Just sounds very, very nice. We then we repeat the same kind of transition thing from the intro, because I spent so long layering that you better believe that I'm going to use it a few times. And then we get rid of the nighttime ambience and we go into our first drop section, where we have some chimes that Ayzic put together. Just sounds really nice. We have a kick with a bit of EQing going on, using some isotope exciter in the low end just to give it a bit more low end information, and then using a dynamic EQ around that sort of like 500 Hertz range just to kind of catch where it might be a little bit thuddy. This song took me ages to mix, and I think this is a prime example of why I probably would have been better off trying to just find a better kick for this song, but I persevered and I think it came out pretty cool, and sometimes it's worth doing that. Then we have the snare, which I've kept it still quite muted because I wanted this song to be about like the music rather than the kind of beat so much. It's quite a different song, I guess, for this album. Then we have this percussion loop. I've used this a few times, so I need to stop using it, but it just works really nicely. So the drums are really, really simple, but they're kind of helped by having a lot of Foley, which we'll dig into. So that's kind of the drums as they are. Then we have this Foley, which all starts to sound like this. I'm not going to go through every single one, but you can hear they've got some delay on some of them. Like a rain stick in there, you got some paper in there. Various different things kind of layered up to help kind of make that more interesting. Then we have the bass. I think this was Ayzic who recorded the bass for this. I'm not sure though. I feel like Ayzic would have made it more interesting than me. Maybe it would have. Maybe it was me. Just, yeah, a bit of EQ, a bit of compression on there. What I really like though as well is this little like sub throw. Or bass throw, whatever you want to call it, where it's just a sine wave bass that has a really quick pitch bend on it, so it sounds like this. You're going to need good headphones or speakers to hear that, but I really love what that does for this transition. Just super cool, really love stuff like that, so I was very proud of that. The Rhodes obviously continues from earlier in the song. The first guitar bit starts to come through. Yeah, just nice simple part there. We also start to have some vocals come through, which are just some vocals of mine that have been form and shifted down about 6 semitones. I really love what that kind of adds to the overall song as well. Then we go into the bridge, which I think this is what makes the song. So the main thing that really makes this is Ayzic sent through this piano solo, which is just so lovely. And this is the MIDI for it. And so what I did with that is I added a low cut EQ to it and then automated that to move up. And I also automated the send on the reverb so that when you hear it in the track, it gets more and more reverby as I kind of go. And then the other thing that I added to this that was really interesting as a layer is in una corda, you can actually go in and just turn off the main tones from the piano, turn off everything else, but you can actually leave on the ambient and the pianist and the mechanical and pedal sounds. So that what you can get is you can feed the same MIDI into it, but you get this like sound of someone playing a piano, which sounds like this. Which on its own sounds kind of random and kind of weird, but you layer it in with Ayzic's piano solo and you get this. And you get like the seat creaking and stuff, and it just, given that the song's called The House Piano, I think those two things, like it's just, it felt like me and Ayzic working together on kind of getting this to sound as cool as we possibly could. And you can hear that low cut really starting to come in here. And there's also all these bendy synths, which are the same thing, just on different tracks. Just being panned around and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So there's a bit of automation going on those. Weird. So in the bridge as well, we have a few more bits here. We actually have, what's this little guitar snippet here? Nothing apparently. So we have some guitars here. These are actually being auto-tuned as well. I think they're ever so slightly out of tune, so there's a bit of auto-tune on the guitars. And then there's also this other guitar part, which is also auto-tuned. You can hear how it just sounds a bit unnatural and has this warbling to it, and I really dig it. Is there anything else in the bridge that I've missed? The drums change a little bit back to the intro snare, and the Foley loop gets telephoned. Don't think we need to go through that in detail. Oh, and there's also this reverse piano where I reversed the first note from Ayzic's piano and then stretched it out a bit. Just to help sort of transition the bridge, because you go from this. Just helps make that transition a bit smoother, so it's a bit less kind of abrupt. Then we go back in for another drop. Here we now have all of the guitar parts from earlier now playing at the same time, so the guitars start to sound like this. I think there's one part we haven't listened to, which is this part here. Yeah, it hadn't come in before now. Repeats, and we have the sub throw again, and a reverby snare, which you can't really tell, it's a bit of a subtle thing. And then what else do we have here? Oh, and then I reversed Ayzic's piano solo for the outro. Just a lot of piano, basically. And that's that. That is, I think that's everything. Oh, there's a delayed Rhodes here that I forgot for the bridge. Which just layered with the other reverse will sound quite nice. Just sounds kind of cool. Yeah, that is pretty much everything for track 9. So that is the house piano broken down. Sorry if I'm going through these kind of quick. Just trying to, I'm recording them all in one day, which is why my shirt hasn't changed. So just trying to get through them as quick as I can. If there's anything you want me to elaborate on, any kind of production techniques that I maybe have glossed over, or anything that you would just like me to talk about in a bit more detail, let me know. And as always, if this was helpful, please leave a comment or a like or a subscribe or just a nice note in general. But yeah, thanks so much for watching and listening, and I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one for track 10, which I think is Slow Down, I think. So that might be wrong, but I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!